Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the 5 best motherboards that I can recommend you guys for AMD. Now if you want the same kind of video for Intel, then please comment down below. I'll make a video for Intel motherboards as well. Now before we begin the video, I want to tell you guys something very important. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, because a lot of content is going to be uploaded to this channel and you can have lots of fun watching them and learning with me. Now guys, I know this is a lot to ask, but can we hit 50 subs before the end of August? Let's find out guys, so please hit that subscribe button as it really helps me grow my channel and create a community, as well as motivates me to do more videos for you guys to watch and learn. So please hit that subscribe button, it's free. And on that note, let's begin. Now before we begin, I want to make it clear that this motherboard list is not in a particular order. So what I mean by that is the first motherboard I'm going to be telling you is not better than the fifth one, and vice versa. So with that point out of the way, let's start with the first motherboard on our list. Okay, so the first motherboard is a very budget oriented board that only costs $70 but still offers a lot of value for that money. The board I'm talking about is the Gigabyte B450 and DS3H from Gigabyte. This is a B450 micro ATX form factor board, and this board also comes with a Wi-Fi variant. Now the board I'm going to be talking about is the non-Wi-Fi variant. The Wi-Fi variant is basically the same but with inbuilt Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and that goes for about $10 more. So if you really want inbuilt Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, then you can go for that board. Other than that, both the variants are literally the same board, but the other one just has Wi-Fi. So now that's out of the way, let's look at some of the basic features and specs of this board. Now this board is of course based on the B450 chipset, so you can overclock whatever CPU you drop in there, and as you all know, all Ryzen CPUs are unlocked, so you don't need to worry about your CPU being locked. And the first main thing I'd like to address is the DIMM slots. You've got 4 DIMM slots that support up to 3600 MHz each, so that's always good to see high-speed memory being incorporated into such a low budget board. And the VRM is the most important part. It's very robust and very good. Now the type of CPUs that you can drop into this are for like APU builds, or you can even drop in some Ryzen 3, so you can do like a 3200G, 3400G, or the recently launched 3100s and 3300X. So those CPUs are very ideal to drop into the socket, and the VRM can handle it. Now I'm not sure about Ryzen 5. You can drop in a Ryzen 5 3500, but I'm not sure about the Ryzen 5 3600. So you guys can experiment with that, but I don't recommend dropping in a Ryzen 5 3600. Another really cool feature that I like in this board is the M.2 slot, which is an unheard feature on a $70 price point. So very good work from Gigabyte. You get a PCI Express 3.0 by 16 slot for your graphics card, and then you have 2 PCI 2.0 slots that you can use for your expansion cards. Now the I/O is good as well if you're dropping in an APU. You have a DVI-D port and an HDMI port, so very good I/O there in case you want to drop in an APU. It's got an 8-pin EPS CPU power connector, so you can do a bit more stable overclocking, and obviously it's AM4 based, and it's got a very decent chipset heatsink to cool off your chipset. So yeah, that was a very basic overview on this very budget oriented but very good value for money motherboard. So yeah guys, that was it for the first motherboard on our list. Let's move on to our second motherboard on the list, which is, you know, a normal budget board. It is the P450 Tomahawk Max from MSI. Now this is regarded as one of the best B450, if not the best B450 boards ever made. It goes for about $110, but for some reason in Newark it's going for $120 now. But if you go to a offline store like Micro Center, you can easily get it for $105, $110. And if you're getting a combo, then you can get it for even cheaper. So be sure to look out for deals. Looking at some of the features that this board offers, first again you've got 4 DIMM slots that support up to 4100 MHz memory, but I don't really see anybody dropping in that fast memory into this board, but if you want to, you do have that feature. And it's talking about the VRM. Now since you're paying $110, obviously you get some heat sinks on the VRM, which is always good to see. It's got a nice fin array and it can dissipate the heat very nicely and efficiently. And it's based on the AM4 platform as usual, and it is an ATX form factor motherboard, so it's full-sized because it's $110, so obviously you do get a full-size motherboard. And then if you look at the PCIe slots, it's got one PCIe by 16 slot and one PCIe by 8 slot. So this supports SLI and Crossfire if you want to put 2 GPUs, so that is supported. And then you've got these 3 PCIe by 4 slots for your expansion cards. Now this board's VRM is really good, so you can drop in something like a Ryzen 7 3700X or a 3800X and it can handle it no problem. So basically my recommendations for the CPU you have to drop in here is up to a Ryzen 3800X, and it can handle it no problem even on stock and overclock. But do not drop in a Ryzen 9 3900X. I'm not sure if these VRMs can handle it, so please do not do that. And it's also got some RGB behind the 24-pin ATX power connector that glows when you put it in your case, so that's really good to see. It's an added bonus. Now that was a very basic overview on this motherboard. You can go check out some other channels. They've put up some really good reviews. And yeah guys, that was it for the second motherboard on our list. Let's move on to the third motherboard on our list. Okay, so looking at the third board on our list, which is based on AMD's premium X570 chipset. It is the Asus Tough Gaming X570 Plus Wi-Fi. So this comes with Wi-Fi on default, so you don't have a specific variant for that. Now this is based on, of course, the X570 chipset, which is the premium chipset from AMD, and it's got PCI Gen 4, which the B450 chipset doesn't have. And PCI Gen 4 can be used for your M.2 SSDs, or if you're using an RX 5000 series graphics card from AMD. Now this board is very nice for the price you're paying, which is about $190 at the time of recording, and you can drop in up to a Ryzen 9 3900X in here, not the 3950X, only up to the 3900X. This board can handle it. Now apart from the 8-pin EPS CPU connector it's got an extra 4-pin connector, so in case you're dropping in a 3900X, just connect that connector as well, so you can do some better overclocking. Now this board has got 2 M.2 slots, one below the CPU and the other one below the chipset fan. And I forgot to mention, almost 99% of the AMD X570 boards have a small little chipset fan in case your processor demands the chipset a lot. If you're using a lot of the PCI lanes, it can kind of get hot, so there is a nice little addition that AMD has done. And as you can see, beside the chipset fan you also get some RGB, so that's always a nice addition, as I say. It's got 4 DIMM slots as usual, and these can do like really fast memory. And it's got 2 PCI by 16 slots and supports SLI and Crossfire, so if you want to do double GPUs, then it's definitely going to work out. You've also got 2 PCI by 4 slots for your expansion cards. And looking at the heatsink for the VRM, it's a very nice and robust heatsink with a decent fin array, and it can dissipate the heat very nicely of the VRMs. Now looking at the aesthetics, now that we've come to a $190, $200 price point, you really want to get good aesthetics with your board, and the Asus TUF Gaming X570 Plus delivers on that. This board looks exceptionally good because of the nice TUF Gaming logo it's got there on the heatsink, and the PCB, you know, it's like camo kind of gray and black kind of camo design, so it looks really good. And yeah guys, that was a simple overview on this board. Again, as I say, this is not a review, simple overview. If you want reviews, you can go to some other really nice channels on YouTube. They have done very in-depth reviews of this board. So that was it for the third board on our list. Now let's move on to the fourth board on our list. Okay, looking at the fourth board on our list, it is one of the more expensive boards out there because I have given 3 budget boards, and now I want to, show an expensive motherboard for people who really want that extra performance out of their motherboard. So this is the Asus ROG X570 Crosshair 8 Hero Wi-Fi ATX motherboard from Asus ROG. Now this is again the premium X570 chipset and is one of the more expensive motherboards. Like, it's $380 just for the motherboard. And you guys might be thinking, well, for $380 it needs to have every single feature. And yes, it does have a lot of features. First of all, looking at the RAM slot, as usual, it's got 4 DIMM slots that support up to 4800 MHz of memory. It's got multiple 4-pin PWM fan headers for your case fans, your CPU cooler fans, your AIO pump, your AIO's radiator fans and stuff like that. It's got a lot of fan headers. Obviously, you're paying a lot of money. And again, it's got 8 plus 4 pin CPU EPS power connector, and it's based on the AM4 platform as usual. And the armor on this board looks really good, and as you can see, it's got a nice ROG logo on there, and it's also got a chipset heatsink with a fan under it. As usual, the X570 boards do have fans. And now let's move on to the most important part, which is the VRM. Now the VRM on this board is just out of this world. It's just amazing because you are paying $380, so it's just amazing for the price. And in this board you can drop in up to a 3950X and it can handle it no problem, even on stock and when overclocked. Okay, so looking at some other features on this board, we've got 2 M.2 slots. So that's definitely useful because people who are building a PC of this kind of budget would obviously want to have high-speed NVMe M.2 storage. So that's a really good addition. Now it does support SLI and Crossfire, as it's got actually 3 PCIe by 16 slots, but only 2 of them are spaced apart evenly, so you can drop in 2 GPUs. And the PCIe by 4 slots can be used for your expansion cards as usual. Now this board is a bit of a premium segment, so you do get a manual power button on the motherboard itself, so that's good if you want to do some troubleshooting. You also get the little display there to read out the error codes in case you want to troubleshoot. Looking at the aesthetics of this board looks exceptionally good. Even when all your parts are mounted, you can see this nice little hero on RGB in the heatsink of the VRM, and it's got another ROG logo on the armor of this board, so it's a very good board for the price. Obviously $30 is a lot, and you're getting every single value for your money that you're paying. So that was a simple overview on this board. Again, for reviews, you can look elsewhere on YouTube. There are a lot of good reviews of this board. You can definitely go check that out. Now you might have noticed we're not including any B550 boards on this list. Now that's because B550 boards and X570 boards almost have the same features, except you have to do some compromises on B550, like a bit lower memory speeds and stuff like that. Now, B550 boards and X570 boards are priced on the same, budget. So I really recommend going for X570 over B550. So I have not included any B550 boards on this list. Now let's move on to the fifth and final board on our list, which is the MSI B450 Gaming Pro Carbon Max Wi-Fi from MSI. Now I know this is the second board that I'm telling you guys from MSI, and that is because the quality of MSI's motherboards for the price is very good. So this board basically has most of the features as the B450 Tomahawk, but does have some extras. Like for example, this board comes with an extra 4-pin power connector, so you can do some better overclocking. And I told you that in the B450 Tomahawk, you cannot drop any 3900X. Well, this board comes with a better VRM, so in this board you can drop in a 3900X and it's going to handle it no problem. Now it supports up to 4133 memory. Again, this is based on the B450 chipset, so no PCIe Gen 4, but I don't see it as that much of a deal breaker for me, at least personally for me, because I'm not going to be utilizing such costly PCIe Gen 4 SSDs. Again, another plus over the Tomahawk that this board offers is an extra M.2 slot, so you can put in two NVMe M.2 SSDs and this board will handle it. And it's also got a better chipset heatsink with RGB in it. Obviously RGB gives you like 10 to 15 extra FPS. Okay guys, just kidding. Okay, so it has got some RGB, which is definitely appreciated, and it's got a couple of more fan headers compared to the B450 Tomahawk, and it's obviously AM4 based, and it's also got 2 PCIe by 16 slots and 3 PCIe by 4 slots. So yeah, that's always good to see. And did I mention this also supports SLI Crossfire just like the Tomahawk? So yeah, now this board comes in at about $140, so you are paying about $30 more for this board, and you do get some extra features which I really like. And personally, if it were for me, if I had the extra money, I'd obviously go for this board. Now one thing I forgot to mention is the memory. The memory speeds can go up to 4133, and it's got 4 DIMM slots, so that's definitely a plus. Now this is ATX form factor as usual, and that was a basic overview on this motherboard. Let's go on to some of the honorable mentions that I can make that are, as good as the boards that I just told you, but there are some cutting corners that you'll have to make in order to choose those boards, because they don't offer as much value as the boards I have chosen. Okay, looking at some honorable mentions that I can make. First off, we're going to be looking at the X570 Tai Chi. Now this is a very good board for the price. It goes for about $300. It's got almost every feature that I told you about in the ROG board, but the VRM is a bit lacking compared to the ROG board, but I think it can still handle a 3950X, and it's also got a really cool looking design. Okay, now that was one of our honorable mentions. Now the other board that I would like to mention is the B550 Tomahawk from MSI. Now this board goes for about $170–180. Now it does come with some extra features compared to the B450 Tomahawk, but I don't see it as a very noticeable upgrade compared to the B450 Tomahawk, and nobody asked for extra features. Now this board, one extra feature is the PCIe Gen 4 that you get, but again, that's not a deal breaker for me. I wouldn't be getting such expensive SSDs, but if you are, then you should go for this. PCIe Gen 4 can give you that little bit of extra bandwidth, so you can have faster read and write speeds. Now another honorable mention, this board is pretty old, but it's the Asus ROG Strix B450F Gaming from Asus ROG. This board goes for about $130. So again, this board is as good as the Tomahawk, but the VRM is a bit lacking compared to the Tomahawk, so I'm not sure about dropping an 3700X, just like I told you for the Tomahawk. So this can handle up to a 3600 or a 3600X, but I'm not sure about dropping an a 3700X or a 3800X. So those were some honorable mentions, and that rounds up our list for the top 5 best motherboards for AMD, along with some honorable mentions. Okay guys, so that was it for the video. Hope you liked it. If you did, smash that like button along with the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos from this channel. And to remind you guys, if you want another video like this for Intel motherboards, then definitely comment it down below. I'll do another Intel motherboard lineup for the 10th gen Intel processors. So yeah guys, please hit like and subscribe because it really helps the channel grow and motivates me to make more awesome PC tech content for y'all. So I will see you guys in my next one. Peace.